Hey, Lake Point Church, welcome to the Daily Drive Lake Point Church podcast. I am Pastor Derwin Gray, co-founder and lead pastor of Transformation Church in the Charlotte, North Carolina area. May 17th, 2004 was a day that I will never, ever forget because it's a day that my best friend, the greatest human I know, my wife, was diagnosed with papillary carcinoma, which is called thyroid cancer in layman's terms. Now let me back up. So I met my wife Vicky when I was 18 and she was 19. I was a freshman. She was a junior at Brigham Young. She was a track athlete. I was a football player. We had our first date January 15th, 1990, and we've literally been together ever since. So on May 17th, 2004, when she was diagnosed with thyroid cancer, it was one of those moments where you never think that that's going to be you. And I distinctly remember the doctor saying, "You're not going to like this news." And it was like time just slowed down. And in my mind, I'm going, okay, I don't want to freak out because I don't know if this doctor is a Christian. And if he's not, I want to have a good witness. Is my wife going to leave? And you just have all these conversations. And so we left the doctor's office and it was just silence. And I just remember putting my hands on the steering wheel and saying, "Oh no, not my baby." That first night of cancer, you can't sleep. Anxiety's in your stomach and I'm crying. My wife is crying. And something that my wife does so well. I mean, that woman walks with Jesus. She loves Jesus. She's a woman of prayer. She's a woman of scripture. And so while we're in the bed crying, all of a sudden she quotes a scripture. God works all things together for the good of those who love him and who are called according to his purpose. And then I quote the rest of Romans 8:28 and verse 29 says, "For whom he foreknew, he predestined to be conformed to the image of Christ, firstborn brethren from the dead." And all of a sudden she says a scripture, I say a scripture, she says a scripture, I say a scripture, and we're literally in the bed playing scriptural tennis. She hits one over, I hit one back, she hits one over, I hit one back, and we're going back and forth, back and forth. And in the midst of that moment, those tears of fear became tears of faith. Those tears of uncertainty became tears of certainty that God was in the mix. So let me pause here. My wife is cancer-free. She's amazing. We're grateful that God delivered us, but something that we never, ever want to lose is that intimacy with him. So here's kind of what I want you to tuck away and put in your soul and marinate on. That even in the midst of the pain, there's divine purpose. Even in the midst of the tragedy, there's divine triumph. So I want you to play scriptural tennis with someone and hit verses back and forth and watch hope rise up in you. Watch Christ rise up in you. And this is what I say to people all the time is they applaud and they clap that God delivered her from cancer. And I say, I'm so grateful, but even if he didn't, he's worthy of praise because there's a day where every grave is going to open and every believer who followed Jesus is going to come out of that grave, that those graves are going to become gardens of grace. This is Pastor Derwin Gray. Marinate on that.